So it's been a busy couple of days. I haven't uploaded a video in a bit, but I wanted to continue our saga of meeting and Kyle becoming a citizen. So today is part 2. I want to talk about Kyle's K1 visa. So after we figured out that he needed to get a visa, we started the application process. I think it was in September of 2009, and so this is like 10 years ago. If you're wanting to do this now, you'll need to look up current information. Also, it's been almost 10 years, so my memory could totally be wrong on some things. But he had to fill out a whole bunch of paperwork, and so did I, so we mailed it back and forth, and then filed the initial form that kind of just gets the process started. They give you a case number, like an alien number, and you can just check your status online. It's pretty much just a whole lot of waiting. Everything's just through the mail, and they update your status online just so you can kind of check it every once in a while and see what's going on. But our process, the total from when we started the application to when he got the visa was about 9 months, which was rough because we were engaged. When we first got engaged, we were planning to get married like 3 months later. I even had asked for the time off work, and then we figured out this visa, and I had no idea how long it was going to take, and just kept pushing the wedding date back and choosing different dates, and it was hard. It was rough just not knowing kind of what to expect as far as the timeline. At one point, Kyle had to, as part of the process, you have to apply for a new passport. And he forgot to send in the photos with it. He'd taken them and just forgot to send them in the envelope. So they sent that back, and that just set us back another month. It was painstaking. And all the while we were traveling back and forth. I was teaching in Idaho, and he was still living in Canada, so every school vacation, he would either fly down or I would fly up there, and we were just using all our money on flights to visit each other. Plus, the fees, which I couldn't quite remember what they were, so I looked that up. For 2019, the fees, there's 3 separate kind of fees that you have to pay, but for the initial paperwork, it's $1,200 to send that in, and then there's 2 other things that you pay kind of along the way throughout the steps, and it totals $2,000 just to get that K1 visa, and that kind of includes everything that you need plus the physical that you have to take. So once we finally got all the paperwork done and kind of the back and forth settled, he got notice that we had to go to Vancouver, BC for his interview. And he lived in Alberta, so it was quite a drive. We decided to make it a big old fun road trip. So he was living in Fort McMurray, so I flew up there, which is super far north in Alberta. They joke around that Santa Claus lives close to them. I don't know. It's really far north. And so we brought his brother Sean with us, and we just took a huge road trip down to Vancouver, BC. Got there, thankfully, miraculously, because his car was having a bunch of problems by the time we got there. Dying in intersections, and it was pretty scary because Vancouver's a pretty big city, and we finally just got to the hotel and walked everywhere from there because we were so scared, and we had the car towed to the mechanic that was right down the road because we were too afraid to drive it. So he went first for his physical, which was right there downtown in Vancouver, and then the next day was when his interview was scheduled. So he just dressed up nice in a suit. We went over to the American Embassy, and he had his interview, and he said that it was actually a lot easier than he expected. The people were really nice, and they told him right then and there that it was approved. So he got his visa the very next day. He had to wait one day. They could have mailed it to him or he could have waited a day. And our car was broken down anyways in the shop. So we were kind of stuck there. I think we spent just one extra night in the hotel than we would have if our car hadn't broken down. It was kind of an adventure. We got to do a lot of sightseeing. And yeah. So he went and got his visa the next day, and it was kind of something they put inside of your passport. So right now his passport has the visa in it, which is kind of cool. A cool memory to look back on. And yeah, it was exciting. And then he had 90 days to move down and for us to get married. So that was in June of 2010 was when we did this big road trip and he had his interview. And then we got married in August. So like the week before I started teaching again. And so that kind of worked out perfectly that we were able to have just, like a month and a half or something to hurry and plan the rest of the wedding. I mean, we'd been planning it, but just to get the invitations out and get all of the things scheduled that we needed to do, announce the date and all that. So it was kind of a whirlwind from there. I went back with Kyle to visit some of his friends. We drove just all through Canada, like not all through Canada, all through Alberta. We went to Grand Prairie. We went to like a big rodeo with his family that they go to every year, or they did, at Ponoka, the Ponoka Stampede, which was really fun. And just got to spend lots of time with them. We went to Edmonton and just did a lot of sightseeing with his family for like a week. They have an RV that we all just stayed in, and then finally I flew back home and straight back from Edmonton. And then he ended up coming to Tri-Cities just like the week before the wedding, and we just finished the last minute plans, and then we got married on August 14th. So we're coming up on our 9-year anniversary this year, and yeah. And then there was a couple other things after he got married that he had to go for one more interview later to remove the conditions of marriage, so that he could technically stay in the country if we weren't married anymore. Not that we were planning on not being married, but that's just one of the steps you have to take. So he had to have another interview, and this time we just went to Boise since we were living in Nampa at the time. And so that was another fee, and I don't remember at all, and I didn't look it up how much that cost, but I'm sure it wasn't anywhere near the $2,000 for the original visa. I want to say maybe $200 or $300. That's just a total guess, though. I don't really remember. So yeah, and then my next video, I'm going to talk about him applying for citizenship, which happened about 8 years later, just barely this year. So see you later.